Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge, and today we have 27 Dresses. This is a 20th Century Fox film brought over when it was acquired by Disney. This is from 2008. It is an hour and 51 minutes long and stars Katherine Heigl and James Marsden. And there's a number of other actors. I'll get to those in a minute. It was surprising just how many I recognized in this film. But, of course, it's 27 Dresses. What do you think it's about? Yeah, it's a romantic comedy starring Katherine Heigl. Back when you could still put romantic comedies in movie theaters and people would go see them. I don't know how well this did in theaters, but it's still. I remember it. I remember the title. And when this came up, I knew that I'd eventually have to watch it. And of course, I'm not one that just goes running out the romantic comedies myself. Not that I'm not romantic, not that I'm not funny, but well, maybe I'm not funny. But in this case, it's just, I was never going to go see it. It doesn't matter if Cyclops was in it or not. It's, yeah, James Marsden. This is actually 2008. It's well after, a few years after his final appearance in the X-Men films. Well, for then, for because they finished off with the Brett Ratner X-Men 3. Katherine Heigl, had done a bunch of things at that time, and she was kind of an it girl for a time. She hasn't done a whole lot since, maybe one or two projects a year, it seems, from looking at the IMDb. But we also get Malin Ackerman. She's, everything for the nerds anyway. She was in Watchmen, and gosh, there's so many just weird comedy type stuff over the years that I constantly see her in, which is great. There's I have to mention this because it's a Disney connection. When we first meet these characters in it takes place about 10, 15, 20 years ago when our main character, Katherine Heigl's character, Jane, is only 8, and she's going to her first wedding, and she is just enamored by everything. She's played by Peyton List. Yeah, you've seen Peyton List all over the place, all over a bunch of Disney stuff here and there, and she also is in Cobra Kai, which just finished on Netflix. Always worth checking it out. It's just always weird when I had first known about her from watching Cobra Kai, and then every once in a while she pops up in a Disney thing, and I'm like, oh, she's so cute and tiny, and she's not like a grown woman here, time, she's been at this for a while. Anyway, she only makes a short appearance, but we get the idea. We get the point of our character's want in this, as they say. This is do they say that? We get the idea of what Jane wants in her life, and from a young age, when she's at this wedding, she's discovered she comes across the bride in distress. Her dress is torn, and something she does helps fix that dress, even at age 8. And she is thanked profusely, and she finds purpose and joy in that. And so when we meet her again as an adult, she is a wedding planning machine. She is a woman who she can do 2 weddings at a time, like across the city. Culturally different. Any culture, any theme, any style, any age, any whatever. She can do it all. In fact, many times she stands in for the bride when it comes to wedding dress fittings or food tasting, cake tasting, when it comes to that kind of stuff when the bride isn't available, and makes a whole ton of decisions on behalf of the bride. Even, I mean, I assume that she is friends with these people, but she also is, she works for them, and she also ends up in their wedding party as well. How many wedding planners end up being part of the wedding party? I don't recall ever seeing that. It's like somebody you hired, and then they got to wear the bridesmaid dress. So, yeah, she's a bit obsessed with this, but it's what she loves. What she also loves is her boss. So she's got a bit of a crush on Ed. What's his name? Ed. Show me your name. Why can't I see your name, Ed? Good grief, Ed. Come on. Oh, you're not this far down in the list. Why is my brain not picking up on this? Ed. Oh my God. Seriously. I know everybody else. Oh, Judy Greer's in this also. Judy Greer, by the way, she gets to play, as you often find in these films, the id of the main character. This the sidekick, best friend kind of girl or co-worker who is kind of says what she thinks for comedic purposes to keep things light as the main character gets neurotic about things. And that's pretty much what Katherine Heigl's character is all about. She does get Ed Burns. Jeez, what is wrong with me? Ed Burns. And it was on the tip of my tongue. Ed Burns. Okay, Judy Greer, sidekick, funny as usual. Judy Greer is always funny, and she's always fantastic. But Ed Burns plays their boss, which I guess does wedding planning. I don't really get that. Like, she does wedding. Maybe she does it on the side in addition, or he runs a wedding planning thing. I didn't get that part. Maybe I just didn't pay attention to that specific thing. But Jane has a crush on her boss. She's a grown woman with a crush on her boss, and Ed. It's just Ed Burns. It's just he's handsome. He's kind. He is friendly. He's everything a woman, it's like, yeah, he's the guy. And Judy Greer teases her about it, and she plays Casey. I don't even know if her name came up more than once, but she plays Casey, and isn't kind of a known secret amongst people in the office that she's got a crush on the boss. The boss is completely oblivious to it, of course. And she's often pressured to share her feelings, share her desire for him, but it's not something she wants to focus on. She needs to focus on her career and everything else. Of course, though, and this is, if there's ever an issue with these types of movies, is that they're fully predictable. How you get there can definitely change along the way. When you're watching films like these, romantic comedies, and also that also works for any genre of film. Very often, people do not take risks. Filmmakers, technically, not saying that Anne Fletcher, who is the director of this, did not take risks. I'm just saying that very often, when studios kind of make decisions on how well a movie will work or not, due to test screenings or whatever else, they tend to not go too far outside the box. Sure, you can do a little bit, get weird with a little comedy over here, or do a twist here and there, but for the most part, while the middle, second act especially, can be all over the place, to a certain degree, you can't change the end result. It's just not going to happen. So when she runs into a guy named James Marsden during one of two weddings she is overseeing in the course of a day, and going by cab to different parts of the city, like from different boroughs, I think, and changing her dress from like she's in a just a standard American wedding, and then there's like an Indian wedding with just very ornate costumes and bridesmaid dresses and things like that. So she's going between this, and she has to change in the cab back and forth between this. This is what our introduction to Katherine Heigl as a character, Jane as an adult from the beginning. And of course, she runs across this handsome guy. Actually, he notices her, and it's not just that she's pretty. Kevin, who's played by James Marsden, seeks her out in a sense, and you just figure it's kind of a meet cute kind of thing. He's a writer. He seems a little bit cynical. And by the way, I'm not going to tell you the entire story, but you can pretty much tell, from what I'm about to tell you, is that they don't get along, and so you know that they're destined to be together. I'm not spoiling anything with that. You know the moment they meet, and that she does not like him, they will fall in love. Period. Will there be difficulty along the way? Absolutely. Is everybody lying to her, or this is kind of also a victimhood kind of story. I don't mean to sound derogatory in this, but this is a woman who lives a life that she kind of has set herself up into, where she can't say no. and she wants to please people. She wants that praise that she got when she was a kid, and she wants that to flow through her entire life. She also wants to be married. She doesn't want to be the bridesmaid. You know, she wants to be the bride. It's that whole trope of never the bride, always a bridesmaid kind of thing. But she puts herself in a situation where she won't tell the man she loves, her boss, she's his assistant, how she feels. So it's never going to go anywhere. She's not giving anybody other opportunities. In fact, she's kind of, no matter how attractive of James Marsden might be, how clever, funny, whatever he is, she's not buying it. The wall is up. And you know, by him being cast in this role as handsome guy, he's just going to be, there's no third character that's just going to be thrown in the mix at some point and replacing him. No. But we do get a little bit of conflict, and this really gets fleshed out when Jane's little sister comes down, played by Malin Ackerman, and she is just beautiful as anything. She's too pretty in some cases, and she's like, I don't have any female friends, and I don't know why. It's the kind of a mentality where she draws the eye away from every other girl that walks in the room, so she quickly makes enemies of just about anybody she meets, any female she meets, any male she meets. She becomes the favorite thing that they've ever seen. But yeah, Jane and her sister love each other. Jane and Tess is Malin Ackerman's character. They love each other. They're sisters. She's moved back to town. She's staying with Tess for a bit. And, well, whose eye do you think she catches? No, not the man that Jane already hates for whatever reason. Who seems a little bit too inquisitive about what she does for a living. No, of course, she ends up dating Jane's boss. And therein lies the major conflict that has to be resolved in this. Will such a thing finally break her? And Tess, does what she can to mold herself into a person that, getting the inside scoop, by the way, from Jane, molding herself into the person that the boss, Ed Burns, George? Come on. Why are you so far down the list in this, dude? George, yes, George. Remembered something. That the kind of woman that George would want, even if it's not really her. So you can literally just see, Katherine Heigl is really good at giving off that hurt vibe and just sort of like, I can't believe I'm living this kind of thing. And this is kind of a call-out kind of film for anybody who ever feels like they've been looked over for. It's not just women, men feel that too, but they've been looked over for somebody else. Maybe the little sister has gotten married before the big sister did, or just the best friend who's always dating everybody, and nobody ever, she can't make the connection that the best friend, goes through boyfriends left and right maybe, but she can't give herself over to any other possibilities than what she's focused on. Taking opportunities to date around maybe. I don't know. So it becomes a situation where when she puts herself in a situation where she doesn't put herself out there, guess what happens? Other people are like, well, you don't mind, do you? I'm going to take advantage of an opportunity that I've found, even though, not a lot of people, at least her little sister doesn't know that Jane likes her boss. So it creates comedy, it creates tension, there's drama, of course there's romance that comes into play, even though, what's his name, James Marsden, who plays Kevin's got a secret. And I'm not going to tell you what that is, but it is definitely in not just in attitude. He's a guy who is very cynical about marriage. He's like, oh, it's the last form of slavery, legal slavery in the world, and he's very negative about marriage and that kind of commitment. And she's all about that. That is her livelihood. She's all about making those days the best they can for the people she is part of that wedding party, making that day, ordering the cake and making sure everybody's dressed right and everything's on time. They are polar opposites. So, but he's got a secret. By the way, everybody's got a secret at some point. I think the only person in her life who doesn't have a secret is her best friend, Casey, who is my God, my brain. Why did I forget? Judy Greer and her dad. And her dad is the only other person who doesn't do anything to hurt her. And he's mostly a supporting character. Speaking of supporting characters, you'll find a very young Kristen Ritter in this as well. She is just on the cusp of, like a year later, she'll be on Breaking Bad. And a few years after that, she'll be doing other TV shows here and there, including The Bee in Apartment 23, and eventually Jessica Jones for Marvel. And so, yeah, it's funny. She's like a receptionist at the office where Jane works, and she's on camera maybe 2 or 3 times, and has maybe a line or two. That's it. But it's neat to see her in that sort of nascent form. And not in the same way, because, I mean, Peyton List is a very little kid, and then she's an adult. And when I see her, when I discovered her, here, Kristen Ritter looks like Kristen Ritter. So she's just a few years younger. And I just adore Kristen Ritter. So, yeah, if you want comfort food, romantic comedy, yeah, this is what you want. Do you want something with a comeuppance kind of situation? Yeah, this has got that. When you will feel empathy for Jane, even though she has put herself in this situation, and she doesn't do herself any favors, but you will feel for her because of it just keeps getting heavier and heavier. And what if somebody really close to her suddenly gets engaged? Of course she's going to be asked to handle the wedding. Yeah. So it just heaps on. And unfortunately, the only other cliche thing that I am going to spoil this a little bit for you, but I'm not going to be too specific. The main cliche thing is that what brings our inevitable couple together initially is lots of alcohol and a pop song that they can sing together, that brings them together. And yeah. And of course, that whole second act thing, that once things really come together, good for her, the betrayal suddenly gets stacked on top of that. She just gets it from every direction, and it's not good. So and you're like hoping that at some point she's going to speak up and take care of herself. Does that happen? What do you think? Yeah, I mostly spoiled it. But again, the structure of this, you can see a mile away. It's just a matter of understanding how bad it gets before it gets good again for the character. It's funny. I like the actors. I love all the actors. It's a really strong, deep bench of women that you'll recognize from so many other things, including, come back, from The Office. Come back here. Jane from The Office is in this. Why? I don't see her name. But she is in this, and that's awesome. Oh, Melora Hardin, Marine. She plays Marine. She plays Kevin's boss. It's a deep bench of great women. Happy Women's Month. So this is perfect for that. Wow, that's a tie-in. Let's pick tomorrow's episode. I've gone 20 minutes. So 222. What do we got at 222? Man, we are just stacking up the movies. We've had a lot of movies recently. So we're really cutting into that. All right, this one's easy enough. I'm sure I haven't seen this one. Maybe. I don't know. It's The Young Black Stallion. Yeah. It's got a horse movie, and they have plenty of horse movies. Next to horses, dogs. Next to dogs, which there are more movies about dogs on Disney+. Horses, I think, come in second. There's some cats, but that darn cat. But it's dogs and I think horses. I'm pretty sure. The Young Black Stallion is what we're watching next on the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. I'll see you back here tomorrow with that. Bye.